Hello there and welcome to the news review on Unilag TV. Education is regarded as the yardstick of development, as development and education go hand in hand. Therefore, no development is achieved without the advancement in the field of education. Over the years, Nigerian universities have experienced both highs and lows, with various challenges facing this sector. Amongst these challenges are inadequate funding, poor welfare, and corruption in terms of malpractice and unethical practices in the admission process, examinations, and of course certification. This has led to the decline in the credibility of Nigerian universities' degree, with many graduates finding it difficult to secure employment. According to recent reports by the Center for World University Rankings, Nigerian universities have been struggling to maintain their global relevance and competitiveness. This ranking is based on carefully calibrated performance indicators that measure an institution's performance across teaching, research, knowledge transfer, and of course, international outlook. In recent edition of the Center for World University Rankings, the University of Ibadan ranked 1,172 university globally, making it the first top university in Nigeria. The University of Nigeria, with 1,775 globally, making it the second top university in Nigeria, and the University of Lagos ranked third, with 1,924 globally. Today, we will be discussing the highs and lows in Nigeria's education, and I have with me in the studio a professor of history at the University of Lagos who is currently the Vice Chancellor of Maranatha University. We'll take a quick break. Do stay tuned. I am Vina Peters. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you just joined in, it's the news review on Unilag TV, and remember to follow us across all social media platforms at Unilag on TV. Earlier, before I went on a break, I said we will be discussing the highs and lows in Nigeria's education, and I have Professor Rufus Taiwo Akinyele, a professor of history at the University of Lagos. He is currently the Vice Chancellor of Maranatha University. Welcome to the show, Prof.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be in your studio.
Yes, sir. So, Nigerians' education. Quickly talk to us about it.
Well, like every sector in Nigeria, that sector has fared badly in the recent times. The situation is both pathetic and lamentable. And you have already given us some of the reasons, but let's even start from the basic document. The National Policy on Education, you have the 6334.
Exactly.
To start with, how many of the children, pupils, spend 6 years in primary school? At the age I mean, at the age of 10, 9, they're already out. And you find parents going to swear affidavits. From that little beginning, they're already exposed to wrongdoing. And when you look at the primary school, who is actually in charge? Is it the federal, the state, or local government? And many of the schools you have dilapidated buildings, apart from Lagos state, and maybe Borno, all others. Look at the length and breadth. That's where the problem starts. And then you move to the secondary schools. You're supposed to have the 3 at 3. But now you find almost everybody starting from GSS 1, moving to SS3. You ask yourself, what's the whole essence of the split? There's distortion, there's manipulation. We don't have even the technical schools that are expected, that are supposed to absorb those that could not move up. And that's a major problem. Not only that, you also find this policy, I don't know where it's coming from. In secondary schools now, you have over 30 subjects. The students are confused. The curriculum, those who design the curriculum are also confused, just as parents. You find that for science now, biology is no longer compulsory. Literature is not compulsory. And econs is not compulsory. So I don't know what they are learning. Now, I also feel those who cancelled the A levels, HSC, actually did a disservice to this country. Because that's where you mature, you grow, you are able to stand. And then you get to the university. Of course, you have so many problems. Inadequate funding, as you have highlighted. UNESCO says it should be 25 or 26. We are struggling to have 7. And once you don't supply the funding, you are going to have inadequate infrastructure. The lecturers will be dissatisfied. And of course, there will be brain drain. And then you can look at courtism and all of that things. I think they are just multi-dimensional. And not only that, you find that the polytechnics that should teach people what we are now struggling to do in universities, the polytechnics are becoming like conventional universities. And universities are trying to become polytechnics by the back door through this emphasis on entrepreneurship and skill acquisition. If we have had the priorities right, this should not be so. And I dare say that every vice chancellor, whether public or private, has become a fundraising officer, because you must generate this money to run the university. And I think the government, yes, government is trying. Yes, we can say that's what they say. We can note the intervention. Most of the intervention of government comes from payment of salary and third fund. You have the normal intervention, you have the zonal intervention, and all kinds of intervention. But remove that, there's absolutely nothing left. And that's why we're having the crisis that we have. Yes, I'm an alumnus of University of Lagos. All my degrees from here. And I've taught in this university from 1990 up to last year, October. But I've also had the privilege of visiting some of these top universities conference. I've been to Oxford, I've been to Cambridge, I've been to UCT, I've been to University of Wits. You look at the infrastructure and everything, you cannot compare with what we have here. I think that's where we have to locate the problem and where we are. You must look at the roots, causes, and try and see if you can fix the problem. Or else, yes, we are struggling. We have moved up. If you look at the Times higher world ranking, UI, UNILAC, we are now in 401. I'm not talking of the local one. 401 to 500 level. Exactly. And apart from that, you look at other webometrics and everything. It's the same universities in UK and USA dominating the top. So if we are serious, like you rightly said, education is a key to development. And if we want to develop, then we must look at it more seriously.
Okay,
That would be my...
let's just stay on poor education.
Yeah.
Okay, in your own opinion,
Yes.
what would you say poor education is, and what is the solution to this?
Poor education, the institutions are meant to facilitate learning. And you must create an enabling environment. If you don't supply what is needed, fund is key. It appears to me that the government has money for other things, but not education the way we want to look at it. Well, I also do admit that government alone cannot provide the resources. And let me also say there are two views or thesis concerning funding. One is for you to look at education as a public good, like you rightly said. And since it's a public good, public must pay for it. The other one is also to look at it from the private reward. If you have masters, there's a greater opportunity for you for career mobility. And so that's why some people say, well, when you are talking of free education, it should be for those at the lower level. That higher education is not free, somebody must pay. And that's why a section of the public is saying, well, we must allow the people to, the students to pay tuition. If you look at other advanced countries, US, UK, government supplies about 1/3. But there's facility for student loans and whatever. And you get, it's a kind of hybrid funding, people, endowment and what have you. But here in Nigeria, the government says students must not pay. As we saying, students must not pay. The same student that will pay millions in secondary school and whatever, you tell them to pay 200, yeah, it's going to be a looter. I think we must just, first of all, identify our priorities. Once you get the funding right, then other things will follow. And I must tell you that the morale of the lecturers are low, particularly with what we experienced in the last, during the 8 months strike. In our own time, like I said, I started job here in 1990. You were dedicated and committed to this work. And generally now, people of this generation, call them Gen Z or whatever, they don't have the patience. They are now preoccupied with existentialist realities. You owe somebody 8 months' salary for insisting that you should honor the agreement that you signed, not under duress, and you are gloating that you have been able to bring them under. For God's sake, they have house rents to pay and other things. They are just looking for where and what to do to survive. So this is where the problem is. We must be able to address and single out education for priority treatment. If you give it what it deserves. And then, of course, you also must look at even the security. You cannot, all these other universities doing well, they also look at the diversity, the presence of foreign students and presence of foreign scholars. In UNILAG, we have the Scholars Suite now.
Yes.
It's just to encourage people to come. But how would they come when there's kidnapping, when there's Boko Haram? All these things you must address. Government must do more. Even though when you look at it, I would say that all the stakeholders have contributed to the problems. But since government is responsible for funding at least public schools, they are responsible for the policy formulation and direction, then we must hold them more accountable.
Okay, you mentioned something about funding earlier. Now, there is this thing that is going around on federal universities where they say that they want to increase the fees, that's the tuition fees for the students.
Yeah.
Are you in support of that move, or should it just remain as status quo?
Look, it cannot remain. If you are doing the same thing with the same method, you are going to get the same results.
So you have the opinion they should increase?
They should increase, but make it reasonable. That's where the emphasis is. Let's have a round table where you have the government, the parents, and the unions. And come, if you say that every student should pay maybe 200, right? Look at the number of students in public universities. How much will that one bring in? And then even the subvention or whatever it is that the government is giving, why can't you pay? You already know what it takes to educate a student. Why don't you give that fund per head instead of just block allocation? And whoever repeats can be made to pay that money back, or at least a fraction of it. That's one way to generate more money. And of course, I'm not also saying that the university should not increase, the IGR. But for now, you also find out that most of the so-called IGR from the education services, sale of PG form, ID card, lab, whatever and whatever. We should do more in the area of commercialization of our research output. And that's why it is necessary also to have an ongoing conversation with the industry.
Okay, but you are quite aware that federal universities are majorly for lower class individuals who cannot actually pay the tuition fees.
That is what we have turned it into. When they were started, it was not specifically stated that it's for poor people or for certain categories. That's where they were making the mistake. These universities were established for Nigerians, not the lower class. It is ASU and whatever is saying, well, the other people, the elite, can afford to go to this other university. This is the only thing that the poor people can enjoy, the lower class. Let me not say poor people. So we should not make that mistake. Like I said, I'm for introduction of fees, but it should not be the one that will cripple. Yeah, that's where I think I'm a bit different. Give something. If they pay like 50, 100,000 extra, you know how much that one will be to University of Lagos.
Okay, so you're basically just looking at it from the revenue generation of the university, and not from the point of view of the students who will not be able to pay that kind of money.
My sister, those students who are saying they are not able to pay, we know how much many of them are paying. And for God's sake, my own children went to this university, but at least I have 3 kids. 2 of them traveled out, and I know how much I paid. You must invest in your own welfare. Those of our parents who even went to school under our, many of them sold their cocoa plantation and whatever to train their own children. What is it that we are doing? If you don't invest in your own children, in your own future, then what else are you doing? The same people who will not be ready to pay are the ones who will close the road in order to do party and whatever. We should get our priorities right.
All right, we'll take a quick break. It's still News Review on Unilag TV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. welcome. It's the news review on Unilag TV, and yes, I still have with me the Vice Chancellor of Maranatha University in person of Professor Tuntunde.
No, Taiwo Akinyele.
Taiwo Akinyele. In my head, I was just saying, like, it's not Professor. I said, no, okay, all right. So it's Professor Akinyele in the studio. That is the Vice Chancellor of Maranatha University. So before we went on a break, we were still talking about the tuition for federal universities and if it is all right for it to be increased, because we'll be looking at funding for these universities. So we're still talking about that because it is crucial that we all understand the importance of funding for the universities and as well payment of these monies into the government's purses. So we need to find a balance here. So what exactly do you think? Because as a parent, it is not easy. Now, if you have 5 children and these 5 children actually do have to go to universities, and what do you do? Now, what the parent does now is to sell ugu in the market. Yeah. And the person has to like fund 5 children. Okay, fine. 3 of them got admission into a federal university because they can actually struggle to actually pay that tuition. So now coming back, or probably hearing the news saying that, okay, the tuition will be increased from probably 15 or 20K to 150, and this mother still has feeding for these children, not only them, also for other ones as well, and she also have the house rent, she has bills, she has a whole lot of things to actually pay for. What would you say to that kind of a parent?
Let me ask the question, how were these same children able to pass through secondary schools?
We have public university, public schools.
Even public schools, they pay, some of them. And again, like I said, we have to look at those who are concerned. In our own days, we also had bursary.
Okay, quite sure.
Bursary is one. In the US, you have student loans. Not only that, you have alumni association. They can give scholarships to indigent students. Even the university can also create that opportunity for scholarship. So if you put in place these mechanisms, you find that, and then you appeal to all these philanthropists. Many of them waste so much money on sport and entertainment. And that's the reality of it. If you go to them, you want to do a conference and whatever, they look at your paper and say, very beautiful. But now, maybe another time. But tell them that you want to do Miss Moremi show. Sorry to use that one. You will see how much they are ready to put down. So let's get our priority right. Let's sensitize the public. And then you'll find out that the people who will be left will not be that many. And they can take care of them. But it's one thing to just categorize everybody as if whoever is a public university is a poor person. Weekend, you know the kind of cars that you have on campus. Can you describe those people as poor? I'm asking you. How many percentage can you actually say these are poor people? Those who even come for the pre-degree, how much are they paying? Some will even repeat and still pay. But when they come in, the same student who will not be ready to pay 20,000, they are the one who will sell their own accommodation for how much? Look, we just have to be realistic and objective. I'm not doubting the fact that there may be some people who will find it difficult. But I think we cannot go from that percentage and generalize. That public university is meant only for the poor people. Once you start from that wrong assumption, the conclusion will be wrong.
Okay, so there's this question I want to ask. Should everyone be going to the university?
You see, I told you earlier, I said there's a problem, distortion with the 6334. It's not meant for everybody. There are people who ordinarily ought to end up in technical schools, and they are making money. There are those who will go to polytechnics. But everybody now, because of the emphasis on certification, that's why you also find out that the university themselves are turning themselves into polytechnics by the back door. Everywhere now, even federal government says through NUC you must have a center for skill acquisition and entrepreneurship. Then if we have followed what is on paper, we will not find ourselves in this. So higher education or whatever it is, and let me also say that because of the way we were brought up, higher education is supposed to equip you with skills that will make you to be able to survive. And that's the kind of functional US education system. But because we are brought up in the British system, many of us believe once you finish, you just enter into the civil service or government paying. Thank God for even what we experienced during the lockdown, whatever. Many of the students now, you find that they are already into one thing or the other. So ordinarily, it should not be so. But because of the way we have managed our education, the way we design the curriculum and the way we operate everything, that's why people believe that until you get to the university, you have not gone to school.
Okay, let me ask one question before we move on to global rankings of universities. Yes. Okay, so we have situations of parents actually buying, when I say results, or certifications for their children.
Yes.
Because I think I was, I know of this particular situation whereby this particular individual, I must say, didn't actually graduate from a certain university.
Yes.
I'm going to withhold the name of that university.
Yes.
So the person didn't actually graduate, but I can tell you categorically, today the person has the certificate of that university. What exactly can you say about this?
Well, you are looking at even at the university level. What about the entry point? You have this miracle center.
That's the special center.
Special center. And then we call it rogue center. In the past, because it was paper exams, and you have to bring everything from Abuja. In transit, it was very possible to go in and, look at it and then. But since 2010, I think the rates of such incidences have come down with the introduction of CBT. But even then, you still have only this last jam. There was a group that advertised itself on the social media called UO Group. And they say, well, we have what we call NJAM and EJAM, with presence in every part of the country operating 24/7. That if you want the EJAM, you want to have access to the question, 4 papers, 20,000. 3 papers, 17. 2 papers, 10. And, well, I also know that JAM has been doing a lot to clamp down. Now, where the CBT centers are duly accredited, and those found wanting, you find them clamping down on them. You also have biometric, what's it called, identification now, which is new, and you are told you are not supposed to come with your handset and some other devices. But you still have a few cases of people trying to cheat, impersonation, writing exams by proxy and whatever. So these problems are there, the challenges are there, because, and you can trace it to what we call the push and the pull factor. What's the push factor? The same thing when you have students engaging in malpractice. The push factor is, well, I have not prepared well, but I want to get to the top. The pull factor is the attraction. Once you have the agents who will advise to you that we are here, we are ready to assist you. And I think we begin to clamp down. And again, let me also say, most of these illegal dealings are with the knowledge of the parents. Who are those who will pay for illegal center?
Parents.
They want to be there, and you come every time during the admissions. They are the one who will go around and then try to find people to fix in order to help them. And it's so funny that from the experience, most of these people that they are paying to are just merely playing on information.
Exactly.
Not that they are able to help. They have seen what is on the ground, and some will go and beg, admission officer, this one is my cousin. And then you see how you can help. At the end of the day, he pockets the money. So these are various dimensions of the problems. The students themselves must be told that you must, I mean, I was, at least I had the privilege of being the chairman of the examination misconduct panel in 2 faculties of the university, law and biz admin. So I was exposed to some of these things. Once the students know that, look, there's no shortcut to success, they will prepare well. And then those who are also doing this, and I think we also make good examples. Of course, we have a punishment, clearly stated punishments for such infractions. But for the staff too, I think they should be severely punished so that we help all join hands to reduce this kind of cases.
Okay, I'm tempted to ask a question about JAM.
Yes.
Now, I know during my own time when we're trying to get into the higher institution, the cutoff of JAM was 200 as at then.
Yeah.
Then, so a few years back, it was reduced to 180.
And then 140.
Now, is it 140 now, 150?
140, we can go up to 140.
So, I want to understand, what is the reason for JAM to reduce the cutoff?
Let me also say, well, JAM is in a good position to answer that question. But I think from what I have read, you're also looking at, one, the exposure of the students. Two, I think JAM also took into consideration these private universities. On a daily basis, you have more and more universities. And if you say 200, how many of them can have students? I think the reduction from 200 was as a result of discussion and pressure from the private universities. And I think they must have realistically looked at the whole thing. What can we do in order to bring in more people? Give them opportunity. Well, I'm not defending lower entry points, but some people will also tell you that JAM exam, JAM score is not a true reflection.
Okay.
Some people did the more you see to acquire the 300. We have seen some of them that brought high scores at the end of the day could not. So the thinking is that, well, maybe for one reason or the other, when you bring them in, and also for the private university, they are smaller in number. You can focus attention on them, give them what it requires, and you bring out the best in them.
Okay, let's quickly talk about the global rankings of Nigerian university. So I did my research for 3 years, and I found out that for the last 2 years, the University of Lagos was nowhere. Or when I said the first 2000 on the list, the University of Lagos was not on the list. And then we came in third this year with a ranking of 1,924 globally, which makes us...
Is that Webometrics or Times Higher International?
That's Center for World University Rankings.
Okay, CWR.
Exactly.
That is focusing on the subjects. Okay.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, so now they came third in national ranking with UI and UNN being first and second.
Yes.
So this is my question. I'm asking you this question on the fact that you are a professor of the University of Lagos.
Yes. And
no, this particular question is only based on that fact.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so this is my question. What prompted or what changed? What did the university do
to have that accelerated?
Exactly. And what can be done? Because we are prided as the nation's pride and
Yes.
the university of first choice. So in order for us to
To
keep
move up.
that going, what do you think can be done in order for us to sustain that
That's
and
hard.
probably also move ahead on the list, or to probably top that list if possible?
Let me say that these rankings are not subjective, as it were. They are not based on ethnicity or politics. They are just objective criteria that anybody can upload and then you assess. Let me say, like I said, I spent greater part of my life on this campus. You remember, we were not doing well because many of us did not even upload our research work on the website. I know that the university had to set up a committee under Professor Johnson Olaleru
Okay.
that actually mobilized people. And the more you let the world see what you are doing, the more you become visible. That is one, because most of them are based on criteria.
Exactly.
Research, your faculty, the infrastructure, and diversity. What do I mean by diversity? Presence of foreign students and lecturers. So you find out that there was this serious, permit me to use this word, harassment from management. That you must upload your papers and everything, Google and all those things. And from where we were sleeping, we suddenly became very visible. And then not only that, they also look at some of them, like I said, you have so many rankings and whatever, the linkages, the grant that you have been able to bring it on board, the caliber of the scholars that you are presenting. How are their papers rated internationally? Maybe for a period of 5 years and whatever. And then you look at this, and then, it's very objective. So if suddenly UI, Unilag, and whatever, we are now up, is because we are doing what the international global academic community wants us to be doing. And the only way to remain on top and advance is to do more. There's no way you can do more if your people, instead of staying and publishing, there's brain drain. Our own loss is other people's gain. And it's so sad. And Nigeria is not thinking. Now we spend our own money to educate our children in the US, UK, Canada. How many of them are coming back? We are spending our money to educate our children to service other advanced economy. So that's one thing. And let me also say that the damage this 8-month strike
Exactly.
had done to the university system in Nigeria, it's not something you can remedy in another 10 years. Because people are now looking outside. And who are those that will go outside? The very best. So, which means that you are likely to have a drop. And yes, we also have the rating by NUC. That one is like local. It's like somebody playing the local league, and you say you come and compete internationally. Well, the objective is even, first of all, within the universities in Nigeria, you look at yourself, see what you are doing, and then look at areas of funding priority. That's what induced that one. So you cannot compare it with the standard, either the one that you look at globally or subject by subject.
Okay. All right, sir. We could go on and on and on and on, but I have just been notified that we're already behind time. So this is where we actually have to draw the curtains on the program for today. It's been an amazing time having you on this program. Thank you so much.
And thank you
for
too for
coming.
inviting me.
All right, so we've come to the end of this particular episode, and as we've all had, some major concerns has been risen, and we can only hope that the government actually improve the standard of Nigerian education to enable them not only to improve or compete locally, but as well globally. And that's our program on the show for today. Many thanks for staying with us. If you want to catch more episodes on this show, please go to Unilag on TV across all platforms on social media. I am Vina Peters. Bye for now.